Cherry. So we'll look at the second verse today. And if it allows us, we will also see this third one today, but we'll start with the second one. So, what does it say here? संगस्सत्सु विधीयतां भगवतो भक्तिर्दृढाधीयतां शान्त्यादिः परिचीयतां दृढतरं कर्माशु सन्त्यज्यतां सद्विद्वानुपसृप्यतां प्रतिदिनं तत्पादुका सेव्यतां ब्रह्मैकाक्षरमर्थ्यतां श्रुतिशिरो वाक्यं समाकर्ण्यताम् संगसत्सु विधीयतां भगवतो भक्तिर्दृढाधीयतां शान्त्यादिः परिचीयतां दृढतरं कर्माशु सन्त्यज्यतां सद्विद्वानुपसृप्यतां प्रतिदिनं तत्पादुका सेव्यतां ब्रह्मैकाक्षरमर्थ्यतां श्रुतिशिरो वाक्यं समाकर्ण्यताम्. Sadhana Panchakam is not necessarily to be chanted. It is not a chant. It is, as we spoke the last week, it is either an instruction or a suggestion. So the chanting is only to get to those words so that some of those instructions can be established in the mind. So just to establish in the mind, we repeatedly say that so that there is a recall. ಸ್ಕೂಲಲ್ಲ ಇಂಪೋಸಿಷನ್ ಹೇಳ್ದೋ ಚೊಲ್ವಲ್ಲ when you're small. I will do my homework every day will be a homework. Teacher will give you homework to write. I will do my homework every day if you don't do it on time. So that imposition is why that imposition is you write it so many times. It creates two things, two impressions in your head, in your mind. One is it creates an impression that of fear, because I don't want to be in a situation where I'm writing this thing 100 times again, right? Because it's a painful affair. So imposition, that is why, is painful, and hence you fear it. So you're careful not to get into that. But the other thing is also, the teacher will not ask you to write an imposition of some random thing. Right? The imposition will not to it'll not go saying that the tree is green and the sky is blue, right? 100 times they'll not say that. They'll ask you to write the imposition of that which you want to be want the teacher wants you to remember. So the imposition is written of that which the teacher wants you to remember. So you're also creating that impression, saying that I will do my homework every day. I will do my homework every day. You're writing it 100 times, means you're also establishing in your mind constantly that yes, I will do my homework every day. So two reasons for this imposition. The second time, you don't want to get caught up in this, you don't want this punishment. And the other important thing for the teacher is இப்படியாவது மண்டையில் ஏறட்டும், let the child get it into its head by repeated um, by repetition of the same thing. So same thing here. By repeating this, we are not suddenly going to get Bhagavad Darshanam or anything like that. These shlokas are not like that. These are instructions to say what needs to be done. This is not like if I sit like I chant, like yesterday we were saying, chanting Rudram, Namakam, Chamakam or Suktams and all that. They have intrinsic sound value and hence it will have an impact. Even Vishnu Sahasranam, Lalita Sahasranam, just the way the mantras, there are mantras there. These are not mantras in that sense. These are instructions which needs to be repeated so that it stays in our mind. So we say that a few times over, right? Now, which means the word here is not important. The intended meaning becomes very important here, right? Sadhana Panchakam, even if we have by heart got it by memory and we are able to repeat it, those words don't make so much of meaning, or rather those words are of no purpose. The intended meaning is of purpose here. So the intention now, like Tattva Bodha, correct. Tattva Bodha, Atma Bodha, these works uh, are like that. They are not devotional works. They are not works of any kind. They are not mantras. They are not like Saundarya Lahari or Shivananda Lahari, where there is a description of the of Bhagavan in some form. It's none of that. Those works, if you repeatedly saying, you'll also, it will cleanse your mind, all of that will happen. Here it's not that. You have to follow what is written here, or you have to at least attempt to absorb the meaning of what is written here. Without the meaning, these works don't make any sense, right? So that is why this Panchakam is different in that sense. This Panchakam, there are a few Panchakas like that. If you take Ganesha Panchakam, it's not the same. You can still in devotion sing Ganesha or any other Panchakam that may be there, or you take Sudarshanashtakam. These are all you just chant also without the meaning. There is a certain devotion that is available for you to experience. This one, Sadhana Panchakam, Yati Panchakam, there's another Panchakam called Yati Panchakam. These are works that have been written as an instruction for the mind to process upon, to think the meaning of it and to absorb it in our lives. Okay, so this one last week we saw was the first verse. Vedo nityam adhiyatam tad uditam karmasvanushtiyatam. So there, if you recall, there are two stages of life that was introduced, which means these are instructions that you take for brahmacharya and grihastha. See, how does it end? It ends nija turnam vinirgamyatam, which means your own house, you leave that, or you leave the own house. Vinirgamyatam is an instruction for the grihastha. Doesn't mean that you actually leave the house. We discussed this, right? You leave the comfort that you are sitting in and you shake yourself up. Don't get caught up in the bondage. Even though you're a grihastha, don't be bonded. Have a bonding, but not in bondage. Okay. Bonding is important only then there is an exchange, there is a transaction, there is um, you can live joyfully and harmoniously. There must be some level of bonding. But what we need to be careful of is bondage. Bondage ties you down. It wears you down, ties you down, and also it creates. It's like, you know, the way Einstein defines gravity. The Newtonian method of gravity is two objects get attracted to each other. That is Newton's way of defining gravity. Einstein's way of defining gravity is based on what is called as general theory of relativity. So there, gravity is not two objects getting attracted to each other. It is, he gives a visualization that imagine space is like there's material called ether which is stretched out like a sheet. Like a sheet, it's stretched out space, and you put an object on the sheet, what happens? It creates a curvature. If you take a ball and you put that ball on a sheet, straight sheet, it'll curve, right, around the contours of the ball. And because of that curvature, other objects will move towards the ball. If the other objects kept on the sheet, they are just standing still. Because of this curvature, the weight of this, it will start moving in that direction. This is how Einstein defines gravity. It's a very interesting way. And he says that is why, because of this curvature that is formed in space-time, the ether or the sheet that's called space-time, objects appear to come closer to other objects. And the bigger the object, the greater the object, the heavier the object, there are more other objects that come around. So Earth, you'll have probably moon and a few other things. If you go to Jupiter, Saturn has 12 moons around it because Saturn is such a big object, it's creating a greater curvature and there are more objects that come around it. So like that, why is this example? Is to say if you create weight in your relationships, you will, the you will cause people to stay in bondage. Relationships should not cause that heaviness. There must be a certain lightness to a relationship, which is why every relationship it is useful, even husband and wife, the closest relationship, it is important to have some time in isolation. Some time, right? அதுக்காக 10 வருஷம் ஐம் கான் என்ஜாய் பண்ண அப்படி இல்லை. We should take a little space and then come back, and then take a little space and then come back. Space is always required between any two relationships to ensure that bonding is there, but bondage is not there. So this weight of a relationship or weight of something in the grihastha is important. We need to make sure. So he's saying nijagruhat grahat turnam vinirgamyatam, escape from this bondage of home. Then he goes on to say, Sangas Satsu Vidhiyatam Bhagavato Bhaktir Dridhadhiyatam. Sangas Satsu Vidhiyatam. Now he's preparing us for, if you look at it, it's Vanaprastha Ashrama and Sannyasa Ashrama. Okay, the next verse, which is verse 2. But then this is not necessarily, remember, not necessarily stages of life, but states of mind. This I keep repeating. The although the ashramas are stages in life, brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyasa are stages in life. We can also see them as states of mind. Okay, states of mind is states of mind makes it much more relatable. If we keep it at stages of life, it will remain as something to be either done at some point in the time in the future. Vanaprastha, I don't time irukkupa. That is time. Not for me. It is not told for me. So it is easy to push something off if you just read them as stages of life. Or if you say it is brahmacharya, I am already crossed over brahmacharya, it is not for me. It is for, then you take that instruction and go and start telling it to your kids without you yourself following. So stages of life, although it may be said it in a certain structure, it is relevant to us if you think of it as states of our mind. The state of my mind, I should keep it in. Okay. So Sangha Satsu Vidhiyatam. Sangha Satsu. Sat means all Sat people. Sat Sangaha, which is what it means. Sangaha Satsu Vidhiyatam, which means may you establish Sat Sangha. Establish Sat Sangha. Or stay established in Sat Sangha. Satsu. This is the seventh vibhakti in Sanskritam. In Sat. Establish yourself in a Sangha, which is a Sat Sangha. What does that give you? Which means you associate yourself, you create a circle of people who are interested, truly interested in self-development, really interested in becoming richer from the inside. Those who are truly wanting to understand the truth of life and are very dedicated to that pursuit. And if all forms of Sangha are not Satsanga, see, we may think that, oh, what is wrong in that guy? He's a nice person. It's a very nice fellow. Or these people are all nice people only. What is wrong if you all go together and every weekend we are doing partying? I am in Satsanga, all nice people only. The issue is not so much about, you see, if you look at it, when you get closer to someone, you will notice that they're all good. Everybody is good. Nobody wants to be bad, evil, or hated by anybody, or even the person who's most ambitious and material is also a good person only. We are not talking about that kind of sat or nice or good, right? It doesn't mean that somebody who is very materially oriented is a bad person. He's not a bad person. His orientation is different. Orientation is different. Here we are talking about a certain orientation. You have to come together in orientation of what? Atmecha, the previous verse he says, Atma Ichha Vyavasiyatam. Is your Ichha towards recognizing the self, realizing the self, the Atma, the Jivatma, Paramatma, what is the relationship? I forget, I don't know what is Atma and Paramatma, but that's what is the relationship with me, between me and the world, between me and that which is the entity that is greater than me. How do I create that relationship? How do I establish that relationship within me? How do I experience joy all the time? How do I stay in a place where I am not seeking all the time? How do I find fulfillment within me? If these are real burning questions, how do I get over this suffering, this feeling of suffering that I'm there, this incompleteness, this despondency, this uh, depression that my mind goes through, the moods that my mind goes through and throws me up and down? How do I get out of all of this? How do I stay amongst all of the things that are happening on the outside? How do I come into a certain place of quietude, calm, ease, joy, exuberance? All of this, how do I come to? If these are the burning questions, and you find other people who have similar questions of how to make this work for themselves, not about showing it to others, but to make it work for themselves, that is satsanga. You come together even as seekers, that is satsanga. So sangha satsu vidhiyatam, coming together in this pursuit is satsanga, because you are trying to explore that most sought after thing in possibly in the most earnest way. There are people who are seeking joy, but you can get that in drugs also. The experience of high, you can get it in drugs also. So, because it's the most sought after thing, pleasure is the most sought after thing. But you've come to a place where you realize that it is not, it is anitya. It is anitya in the way I am seeking in the body. It may not, it is not permanent. So I'm looking for that permanent thing. The moment we recognize that there is temporariness and I'm seeking permanence, there is satsanga, there is seeking within. So such people, always remember to, this is something that we need to remind ourselves, that am I in satsanga? Am I amongst people who all are good people, but am I amongst people who are enriching this experience of mine, making this better for me, making this journey much more, um, uh, making this journey far more, I mean, develop me in this direction. Who are all around me are helping me develop in this direction from within. I seek out such people, and then I form that, I have that satsang. And you can create this wherever you are. One can create wherever. We don't have to necessarily go elsewhere. We can create this satsanga wherever you are, because you will always find that if this seeking is strong enough within, we will find people around. They will get drawn to us. We will get drawn to them for some reason. Right? Because this nature wants you to develop this. Sangas satsu vidhiyatam. Bhagavato bhaktir dridhadhiyatam. Bhagavatah bhaktir dridhadhiyatam. Which means in Bhagavad Bhakti, dridha dhiyatam, adhiyatam. Establish yourself in Bhagavad Bhakti. Okay. Bhakti, there are is something called as Navavidha Bhakti, which we can see some other time. But there are 9 types of bhakti according to Bhagavatam. So uh, this is these are essentially 9, not different ways, but 9 ways in which bhakti within us demonstrates or displays, that emotion is displayed. Remember, in the Panchadwaraka Yatra, that booklet, there's one section that is there for the Navavida Bhakti. You can look that up. The maybe I'll just pull that one.
श्रवणं कीर्तनं विष्णोः स्मरणं पादसेवनम् अर्चनं वन्दनं दास्यं साख्यम् आत्मनिवेदनम् इति
Super.
प्रोक्तनवविधभक्तिः
Completed.
இவ்வளோதான் எனக்கு தெரியும்.
அவ்வளோதான். Very nice. See this book, if you remember, we had this. Shiva just chanted that. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnoho Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakhyam Atmanivedanam. So these are the 9 forms of bhakti. Shravanam, hearing the names and glories of Lord. Kirtanam, chanting his glories. Smaranam, remembering it. Padasevanam, serving the Lord's feet. Archanam, worshipping the Lord. Vandanam, offering obeisance. Dasyam, serving the Lord as a servant. Sakhyam, developing a friendship with the Lord. Atmanivedanam, total surrender. So each of these are not necessarily separate types of bhakti. These are all different expressions of bhakti. Different expressions of bhakti, and that can occur within ourselves at different times. Right? Or you can also take them as stages in which you kind of develop bhakti. How you develop bhakti in a um, in a progressive manner to get to Atmanivedanam. It can be seen that way, right? Atmanivedanam is total surrender. To get to that, what are the different actions or kriya that you do that develops bhakti? So, Bhagavato Bhaktir Dridhadhiyatam. Establish this bhakti within you by whatever means possible. Whatever means possible, establish this bhakti within you. Actually, my mother did one in Paripalana. She was asked to give one of the events. She was asked to talk on something, so she picked up Navaveda Bhakti and she spoke on Navaveda Bhakti. It's a very nice thing to discuss and contemplate upon. And what happens is, again, these are things, again, these are not mantras, right? These are things that you remember. If, like the way Shiva chanted it, now if you remember, if you're able to recollect it as a chant, then we can also use it to remind ourselves, right? We also use it as an opportunity to remind ourselves. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnoho Smaranam Badasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakhyam Atmanivedanam. So something like that, we do a little mental um, recollection of the various associations that we want to create with our Ishta Devata. Right? So this one is Nabhavida Bhakti. So I think by some means or the other, Bhakti, Bhagavato Bhakti Dridadhiyatam. Establish this Bhakti in your hearts. Then Shantyadif Parichiyatam. Shantyadif parichiyatam. Shanti is here in this context is there are those who are familiar with Tattva Bodha, you will know there is something called as Shat, um, Samadhi Shatka Sampattihi.
ಸಾಧನ ಚತುಷ್ಟತ್ರ ಸಮಾಧಿ ಷಟ್ಕ ಸಂಪತ್ತಿ ಅವರು
Sadhana Chatushtayala, the first,
ವಿವೇಕ ವೈರಾಗ್ಯ
correct. Viveka, Vairagya.
ವೈರಾಗ್ಯ ಸಮಾಧಿ ಷಟ್ಕ ಸಂಪತ್ತಿ ಮೋಕ್ಷತ್ವಂ.
Shama Adi Shatka Sampattihi. Shama Adi. Shamana, Shama Dama, Uparati, Titiksha, Samadhanam, Uparati, Titiksha,
ಶ್ರದ್ಧಾ
Shraddha.
ಶ್ರದ್ಧಾ
Shraddha, Samadhanam. Shraddha, Samadhanam. So there are six Shatka Sampattihi. Yes, it comes in Viveka Chudamani also. So this Shatka Sampattihi means six treasures. Guru's Guru Shivananda would tell all the sadhakas in the ashram to keep these Shatka Sampattihi in a piece of paper, and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, create a table for these six, and each day tell how much of each of these you've practiced. It's a calendar for own self evaluation. You keep this daily calendar and evaluate yourself on how you're progressing against each of this, you would say. So Shama, Damaha, Uparati, Titiksha, Shraddha, and Samadhana. So these are the six. So very simply saying, Shama is essentially you are kind of trying to bring your mind into a certain space of control. Damaha is you're bringing your you're withdrawing from your senses, withdrawing from the senses. Uparati is trying to calm the waves, or bringing it to some level of cessation. Bringing what into cessation? External activities and internal vrittihi. Chitta vritti nirodha. So bringing that to a certain level of uparati, cessation. And then titiksha, forbearance. To bear. Shitoshna sukha dukkhada. So shita, ushna, sukha, dukkha, all of that you try to bear. Again, Shivananda Guru will say that bear insult, bear injury. Bear insult, bear injury. He'll keep repeating. Bear. To bear it means you keep bearing it, because what is happening is you're not hardening, but you're conditioning yourself in a nice way. You're making yourself not prey to any of these strong emotions. Titiksha. Shraddha. Shraddha is always loosely translated as faith, but it's not faith. It is Shraddha means with some kind of reverence. I have Shraddha is actually, I feel Shraddha is better translated as reverence, because when you have reverence for someone, you tend to give us a listening ear. You will do what they say when there is reverence, right? So Shraddha that way is, you don't take something on its face value, you also question. There is also a certain jignasu within you. You also question what is being said, but at the same time, you don't reject what is. If you don't find it right, you don't reject it outright. You think, you process, you say, maybe there is something that is being said, right? Oh, there's a saying that says, don't accept it and be stupid. Don't completely accept it and be stupid. Don't completely reject it and be an idiot. If you completely accept it, then you're stupid, right? Apply your mind, apply your brains, but don't accept it just because somebody said it. But at the same time, don't reject it completely. Then you're an idiot, which means you're losing it. So it's a it's a pretty strong way of saying it, but it's all gets the message across, right? Never reject completely something that is being said. Of course, depending on where it is coming from, right? So, Shraddha, Uparati, Titiksha, Shraddha, Samadhana. Samadhana. Samadhana means to come to a samasthiti within ourselves. All of this we do for what? Come into a samadhi, into a state of samadhi. And then your fourth sadhana chatushtaya says four things: Viveka, Vairagya, then Shatka Sampattihi, Shamadhi Shatka Sampattihi, and then Mumukshutvam. The fourth one, you do all of this for what? So that there is Mumukshutvam. Mumukshutvam means the desire for that liberation, that ultimate realization or understanding. That desire is there. Because if that desire is not there, all of this, even somebody who's climbing a mountain requires several of these things. He needs titiksha, he needs shraddha, he needs shama, dama. Think about it. The shatka sampatti is required even by an athlete who is wanting to win the Olympics. Yes or no? There is so much of sacrifice he does. There is so much of mind work, so much of focus he needs to bring in. There is shamaha, which means he needs to bring his mind to a certain state of control within. Then damaha, he needs to withdraw himself from self's pleasures. He can't eat whatever he wants, whenever he wants, be any way he wants. Then there is uparati, which means he needs to have a certain uh, a level of unnecessary activities he should not indulge in himself in. Then there is titiksha, he means he has to forbear, right? All the difficulties he has to forbear. There's shraddha, means he has to have some faith that I do all of this, I will get the medal, I will win the Olympics. And samadhana, the mind has to come to a certain state of restedness within himself. Like they say, when John McEnroe was playing the Grand Slam, mind has to be extremely in a state of complete calm, only then you can win the game. If it's excited and agitated, you can't. You have to have that, you have to smile, and that sporting spirit is essentially samadhana. Whether I win or lose, it doesn't matter. All of this is required even for a sportsman, even for a very um, arduously aspiring sportsman, right? But here we are trying to change that narrative a little bit. We are saying now important is mumukshutva. You do all of this with the desire for liberation. Actually, anything you pick up in life, you do it with so much of passion, you will achieve what you want. You talk to any of these, um, in fact, you look at the story of Madhavan, the actor Madhavan's son, who's trying to get trained for Olympic swimming. You listen to some of those stories. That boy is being, he is, he is, for parents are not imposing on him. Self-imposed discipline. Such levels of discipline is imposing on himself because he's preparing himself for one of the toughest challenges he's going to pick up. So this is required in anything that you're very passionate about. Not just a spiritual path, but then imagine so much more in the spiritual path. Because it's a very subtle aspect that you're dealing with yourself. There, once you win, suppose you go, you win, lose, whatever you've done it, then then what after that is a question, right? Here that question will not be there. Like, what after realization? What happens after realization? Nothing happens. Nothing. In your experience, from somebody from the outside is saying, looking at, okay, so what? You have realized now, so what? From outside, for that individual is looking at you, there is nothing that may have changed. Possibly. He may not see anything change in you, but within you, you would have had a complete 180 or a 360-degree turn on a different direction. From within, there would have been a complete transformation that would have occurred. And it is not like going back. Right? And that state of peace and calm, this possibly may not come for an Olympic athlete. As an example, right? After 5 years, he may want to go and try again. But here, it's not like that. You have tasted it means you will want to be in that. That's it. You're not that aspiration, that the urge to do something, get something, will all come to a cessation. Panchopashamam shantam. Pancha upashamam shantam. Shivam advaitam. Panchopashamam shantam. So that is the Shanti. Shanti ityadi. Shanti adi parichiyatam. Shanti adi parichiyatam. Dridhataram, with determination. Karmashu santyajyatam. Karmashu santyajyatam means all the karma that creates asha within you, that creates desires, santyajyatam, slowly dissolve it. Sad vidvanupasritpyatam. Sat what is it? Sad vidvan upasripyatam. Sat vidvan upasripyatam is similar to saying sangha satsu vidhiyatam. Sangha satsu vidhiyatam is to create a sangha of similar seekers. Sat vidvanu upasripyatam means go seeking for people from whom you can learn. Sat vidvan. Vidvans are people who know and who are able to share and teach about this, how to do inner exploration, how to go in this journey, how to travel inwards, how to stay in that, how to not get distracted, how to bring our focus into this, what are the methods I can do, what are the techniques I can use, what are the tools that are available. Somebody needs to kind of indicate to us, right, what tools are available, what methods are there. How do I use the same Vishnu Sahasranama? Now when I say, how do I say the Lalita Sahasranama? How do I say it? How do I perceive? How is my engagement with any worship that I do? How do I keep relationships? What is bonding? What is bondage? What is Bhagavad Kainkaryam? All of this, if when it is told to us in different ways, by means of either words or actions, when it is told and shown, then we understand it much better and we start applying it. So Sat Vidvan Upasripyatam, be in association with such people from whom you can learn how some of these things can be done. Then Pratidinam Tatpaduka Sevyatam. Pratidinam Tatpaduka. In this context, it is a guru. See here, the way he has constructed this particular line is Sat Vidvan Upasripyatam. The Vidvan himself is the guru, and his Paduka Pratidinam Sevyatam. Okay. So in that context, it is go to a guru, be with a guru, upasripyatam, be with him, serve him, and his paduka sevyatam. Serve his padukas every day. But in our context, we can keep satvidvan upasripyatam means have the association of such people from whom we can learn all of this. And tatpaduka sevyatam is you do your guru paduka seva. And guru, as I've told, is it can be developed in various different ways, the whole idea of a guru, right, within us. And we can take Krishna himself, Jagat Guruho. Himself is the Jagat Guru, right? So the Jagat Guru himself or Krishna himself can be taken as the Jagat Guru, or you can take any of your acharyas that you're wanting to take as your guru, we can take. And if they feel you need a physical guru, he'll come in some form. And it can be for a lifetime, it can be for a period, it can be for a season, or it can be a intersection, for an intersection. You may come across somebody for an intersection and you're gone. He's gone, you're gone. My guru's guru, the same way. His guru is Vishweshananda. And there is not much mention of him at all. There is one intersection happened between Shivananda and Vishweshananda. Vishweshwarananda or Vishweshwarananda. There is one intersection that happened, and that's it. He gave him whatever sadhana he needs to do, and he was parivrajaka. He went on his way. And then after that, Shivananda was on his own. So sometimes just one intersection is sufficient. One satsang, one meeting, one engagement, one is also sufficient. Or sometimes it's for a period of time. Or sometimes it's for a lifetime. Or sometimes it's for multiple lifetimes. We don't know what we need. We don't know what we need. This is something that you cannot decide for yourself. But you, whatever, I like to look at Mahapariva's photos and I like to offer my salutations, prostrations, and my obeisances to him. I look at this form, I feel that I take him as my guru. Right? We can do this in our hearts. We take that, and then whatever needs to occur will occur. Some form, someone will come. Some form, somehow, sometime, something will come. So tat paduka sevyatam. So keep this paduka in your minds. Paduka is usually said to be kept on your crown chakra, like this, visualized. They say visualize the paduka here, which means the feet of the guru is always upon you in some form or the other. Remember the scene of Kattappa in Bahubali. He keeps that Mahindra Bahubali's feet on his head, no? So visualize it that way. And the more we visualize and we create this bhavana inside, you will find somebody on the outside, or maybe you will not also, because maybe you're not required to. Bhagavan himself is offering you his form as a guru. Right? Dakshinamurti, guru. So the guru seeking should not be an activity. It should just be a burning experience within, and it will come in some form. It will come in some, and you will find over time. Maybe sometimes you find one individual, two individuals, or you may not, but keep that burning desire, not essentially for a guru, but for the ultimate thing that you're wanting. Because guru is a means, and it can occur in whatever way. Right? There are most miraculous ways in which these things have occurred to people. And it's not just miraculous because they're famous people, only miraculous things happen to famous people. Because it happened to a normal person, they became famous. Remember this. Miraculous things happen to a normal person, hence they became famous. So for us also, miraculous things will happen in our lives. So he's saying, Pradidinam tatpaduka sevyatam brahma ekaksharam arthyatam shruti shiro vakyam samakarnyatam. We'll take another 5 minutes and we'll close. Brahma eka aksharam arthyatam. Try to meditate upon this Brahma ekaksharam, which means this one indivisible Brahman. Brahma eka aksharam. Aksharam means that which does not get decayed, or that is not destroyed. Aksharam. Na kshayati. That which does not get destroyed or decayed is akshara. Such a Brahman, which means that consciousness that is always present. The moment you close your eyes and you sit, there is a consciousness that is always present. You don't have to name it at all. There is no compulsion to name that. Don't even call it Brahman. Just experience that. The moment you sit down and just experience that, some form of silence, some form of guiding intelligence that is there, that is always present, you don't need to name. There is no compulsion to name it. Oh, this is Krishna's blessing. Oh, this is Narayana. Oh, this is Shiva. Oh, this is Ambal Devi. Avasyame illa. There is, see, somewhere we feel we have to name something, we have to name everything. Suddenly ஆத்துக்குள்ள ஒரு குட்டி பூச்சி வந்ததுன்னா கூட அந்த என்ன பூச்சி அதுன்னு evaluate. We'll be so intrigued by what is that பூச்சி. We have to go take a photo internet. We have to search what பூச்சி is that. Anyways, you're going to throw it out, right? அது வச்சுட்டு அதுக்கு சாப்பாடு போட்டு, we are not going to nurture that பூச்சி, right? Because we want to name everything. Because tomorrow somebody asks, what பூச்சி came to your house, I have to name it. there is this there is this compulsion that we have to name everything. There is a very beautiful movie I had watched many years ago. There's this man who goes into Vanaprastha, and it's, by the way, it is not even an Indian movie, it's a German movie or an Italian movie. And this man was very active in the intelligence of the country and so on and so forth. And then he goes into complete isolation into the mountains. And then he lives there, and he calls himself Anam, means no name. Because that became his name. But then you are referring to yourself as no name, because this has no name. You are forcing yourself, because in the transactional world you need something to be able to transact with. Why do you otherwise have? There is no compulsion to name anything. So can we practice that, right? Brahma eka aksharam. That Brahma eka aksharam, whatever that is, we call that whatever name. Name is not important. The name should drop. When we sit like that, just experience that silence and that calm and that presence, that intelligence that is there. It is always there. Brahmeka aksharam arthyatam. This is the meaning of this. Understand the meaning of this. Shruti shiro vakyam samakarnyatam. Shruti shiro vakyam. Shruti shiraha is what? The 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 crown of Shruti. The way Upanishads is the crown of the Vedas, right? Shruti means Vedas. Shruti shiraha is the crown of the Vedas, which is Upanishads. Upanishad vakyam samakarnyatam. Understand, listen, and absorb it. Sama akarnyatam. Listen, akarnyatam. Karna is to, this is the ear. So through the ears, listen and absorb. What? Shruti Shiro Vakyam, Upanishadic statements. Mahavakya. Simple to say, you can't, the simple line means that meditate upon the Mahavakyas. Or any Vakya that you find in the Upanishads that have been stated that touches your heart. Meditate upon it. Right? Like CNV here, CNV had come with us for the Kedar Yatra, if you remember. And in there, we saw the Ishavasya Upanishad Vakyam. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena taktena bhunjita magradha kasya svidhanam. He saw that, we read it, it was written on the wall, and that touched him somehow. And he got very drawn to it. And then he's been processing, he's listening to Upanishads, he's doing. So we don't know which Upanishadic Vakya will touch us. So whichever touches, try to recall, make a recall, look at the text, repeat it, because then it establishes it within you, like in a seed, and then you flower, you water it so that it blossoms. Why does that blossoming require? So that then it pulls you from the inside. See, we spoke about this bondage is on the outside, right? We need to create this weight inside so that it pulls you from the inside. There must be this magnet or chikirsha which needs to be there inside, which pulls you inwards. So we saw the second verse today, which is what? संगसत्सु विधीयतां भगवतो भक्तिर्दृढाधीयताम् शान्त्यादिः परिचीयतां दृढतरं कर्माशु सन्त्यज्यताम् सद्विद्वान् उपसृप्यतां प्रतिदिनं तत्पादुका सेव्यताम् ब्रह्मैकाक्षरमर्थ्यतां श्रुतिशिरो वाक्यं समाकर्ण्यताम् ॐ कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि सदाशिवायेति समर्पयामि जगदम्बिकायेति समर्पयामि सद्गुरुनाथायेति समर्पयामि हरि ओम तत्सद्गुरुभ्यो नमः देवा हरि ओम
हरि ओम गुरुजी।
हरि ओम गुरुजी।
हरि ओम
हरि ओम गुरुजी।
हरि ओम
हरि ओम गुरुजी।